In 1979, a woman's body was discovered at Sugar Pine Point State Park campground on Lake Tahoe. She appeared badly beaten and bruised and appeared to have been strangled. In her early 30s, she had some jewelry on her body, she had some rings, a wristwatch, and a deer pendant. The three people who discovered her body did not immediately call the police. Instead, they called a local newspaper and snuck off. The reporter then informed law enforcement authorities. The police found that the three men had not called in their discovery. Because they had warrants out for their arrest, they were all cleared for this specific crime. An autopsy shockingly would reveal that the Jane Doe was likely alive when they discovered her. It appeared that she had been assaulted, so an evidence collection kit was conducted on her body. These kits have collection bags, microscopic slides, a comb, sterile containers, etc. to collect evidence. Hair, saliva, blood, and other bodily fluids are lifted off victims, with the help of these kits to prove assault and identify the perpetrator. She was found to have suffered severe blows to her body, and there were defensive wounds that indicated she fought back. There were multiple signs of struggle around the picnic area of the western shore of the lake, and the victim lost one of her flip-flops while trying to escape her assailant. Investigating officers recovered very little evidence, but unknowingly bagged one important item: an empty beer bottle they found near the body. Back in 1979, forensic technology was not as advanced as it is today. The evidence was filed away, and the body was stored in the morgue for a long time. Nobody came forward to claim the unknown woman. And so it was decided to bury her in an anonymous grave in a potter's field located in El Dorado County. Lake Tahoe has always been a popular tourist destination, and was so back then as well. The beaches and campsites always attract people from all over, and it was hard to trace this woman. She could be from anywhere. At the time, police did not recover a vehicle or any other belonging, so there was no way of knowing who she was and how she got there. Limited by technology, it was considered a cold case and was taken off priority. Years later, when DNA testing came out in 1986, the DNA lifted off the beer bottle and victim were analysed. It was clear the bottle belonged to the assailant, but there was no further progress until decades later. Almost 36 years later, investigating officer John Gaines took over this case in 2014. He reopened the Lake Tahoe Jane Doe files as part of El Dorado County's cold case unit, opening cases from the 1970s, 80s and 90s regarding the lake. In the Lake Tahoe Jane Doe case, he accompanied the body with a forensic anthropologist from California State University, Chico. He printed photos of her jewelry to be released to the public in an attempt to identify her. The pictures were published in local newspapers without many leads. Gaines noticed the necklace and realised the deer necklace was actually a chai pendant, which represents the Jewish symbol for life. He said it was the kind of pendant Elvis Presley used to wear on stage. With the chai pendant as a lead, Gaines tried his luck with the local Jewish community. Lake Tahoe's local rabbi, Rabbi Morty Rickler, who had opened a Chabad, was surprised to have officers contact him. A Chabad is considered a Jewish community centre, and one does not often come across police in these centres. It is a holy place of peace and sanctity. When they explained the case, Rabbi Rickler was happy to help and spread the word in the community. In 1979, when the body was discovered, the Jewish community was just settling in the Lake Tahoe area with very few families. Now, the area had 2 synagogues and over 1,000 Jewish members. In September 2015, Rabbi Yossi Grossbaum had a visit from 3 detectives in plain clothes but with guns and badges. Gaines had reached the city of Folsom, California, in an attempt to connect with any surviving relatives of the victim. Rabbi Grossbaum spread the word in Northern California and throughout the state. One family finally came forward after identifying the pendant in the newspapers. A DNA test was conducted on the remains and the alleged victim's daughter, and there was a match. The body was then finally identified as Patricia Carrigan, who would have been 35 years old at the time she lost her life. Originally from Virginia, Patricia had gone off on a solo road trip around California. She was driving a red Volkswagen bus. She had contacted her family to tell them she was on her way back home but never arrived. A month later, in October 1979, the family reported her missing. Her car was recovered from a dealership in Venice, California. Apparently, someone had abandoned the car in the lot. Unfortunately, she was a missing persons case in Virginia, so no connection was made. Additionally, Patricia's DNA profile was uploaded into CODIS, the FBI's combined DNA index system, as well as the DNA from the perpetrator. But for many more years, there was no match. Her body was then handed over to the family for a proper burial, and she was laid to rest 26 years after her unfortunate demise. The perpetrator, however, remained free. Years later, a completely unrelated chain of events led to the arrest of the assailant. In 2023, the state of Washington provided funding to the Washington State Evidence Kit Initiative, a movement aimed at reopening rape evidence tests from the 70s onwards in an attempt to put perpetrators behind bars. The Spokane Police Department was one of the few that had officers assigned to work full-time on evidence kit cases. The SB had over 1,500 kits, and among those, over 250 kits got matches on the combined DNA index system. This led to a huge breakthrough. In 1994, a man had been accused of assaulting a homeless woman in Spokane. She reported the incident to police, got tested for verification of her accusation, and identified her assailant as a man named Harold Carpenter. He was booked on second-degree charges for forcing her against her will, but never prosecuted because the woman did not press charges. Harold Carpenter claimed they had consensual relations and he did not assault her, so it was just his word against hers. The evidence kit had been filed away but was now uploaded into CODI. The woman who logged the complaint had long since passed away, but the DNA on the system matched the DNA on the empty beer bottle from Patricia Carrigan's body. Their investigation placed Carpenter in the vicinity of the crime. On September 29, 1979, when he was arrested in Susanville, California, for driving under the influence, Carpenter had various misdemeanor arrests between 1990 and 1993. As well as being charged for another non-consensual incident regarding a woman in 1994. He was married and lived in Sandpoint, until his divorce in 1998 after she filed charges against him for domestic battery. There were charges against him from 1998 to 2018 in Bonner County for possession of illegal substances, reckless driving, more Deweys, and disturbing the peace. There was not much on his record in Washington except one Dewey in 2000. Carpenter was living on Spokane streets since 2016, rendered homeless. In 2018, he was arrested as a suspect in another non-consensual case in Spokane County, but it was not proven. He was quoted in an article published in the Inlander in 2020 regarding his homeless situation. You just tough it, you just go outside and you try to get out of the rain or the snow or whatever. In 2022, he was a suspect for a groping incident. But again, he was not arrested. He moved into Park Tower apartments in downtown Spokane. Investigators of El Dorado County now had probable cause to arrest him, and the Spokane Police Department helped in locating Carpenter. So multi-state agencies working together. The 63-year-old was brought to justice when he was arrested on March 1st, 2023, for taking the life of Patricia Carrigan. Due to the statute of limitations, the Spokane case could not be pursued, and there were no charges filed against him in that particular case. He is currently held without bond in Spokane County Jail awaiting extradition process for El Dorado so he can be prosecuted for his crimes. The decades-long cold case was finally cracked. Patricia Carrigan's assailant has been identified 44 years later, thanks to advances in forensic technology and agencies working together across states. The mystery of the 1979 Lake Tahoe Jane Doe was solved almost half a century later.